What up YouTube? Topaz Yates back for another requested review. Been a while since I've done one of these. Today we got Mr. O, the Cassette Tape Volume 2, who's a West Baltimore MC who fits along the culture of those individuals that want to bring 90s rap back. You know, the golden era individuals, like they call themselves the real hip hop heads. And you know, I don't hold that against anybody. But the reality of it is, if 90s hip hop was going to come back, it would have came back by now. There was a huge selection of individuals that are actually really talented who actually did gain notoriety, like say Joey Badass. This individual had the skill set, he also had the promotion, he had everything involved to actually bring back that sound to the forefront of the commercial industry, but it really just didn't happen. Yes, music does run in cycles. Eventually, a time period style of music will be brought back. But the way that they bring it back is usually through samples of something in which they apply that to how music today is going on. But I'm not holding this against you. The reason being is, as an artist, you have to have something that you believe in. Regardless of if it's right, if it's wrong, whether it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, doesn't matter. As an artist, you need to believe in something to pursue, and with that, you can make the impossible happen. That's the part of being an artist that many people underrate. All the things that people deem as impossible, the right person in the right situation with the right skills can make it happen. So I'm not taking this away from you. What I am saying is you are just not prepared to make a good song yet. See, songs like 91, where you're paying homage to this whole time period, that's something that should interest me, especially since I came up during this time period. But the thing is, you just don't have the skill level required yet in order to make something that people would appreciate this for. Now, why am I saying that you're not ready to make good music yet? It's because you don't have the core fundamentals necessary in order to do it. Each element that I'm about to tell you is equally as important as the next. But yet, the time that it takes in order to improve at each of these are drastically different. So I'm going to start from one of the more easier ways, but yet none of them are going to come to you overnight. Let's start with the first. The first fundamental that you need to learn and get better at is probably the easiest one for you to pick up on, would be your delivery. What is delivery? Saying what you're saying, but saying it like you mean it. How you do this is you practice and practice and practice. And then it becomes memorized to the point that you can say it in your sleep. You honestly know this back and forth. No matter what, you'll never forget it. Even if you're on stage with all eyes on you, you're not going to forget your lyrics ever because you've practiced them a million times. But after you've practiced them a million times, you will begin to realize, okay, I need to say these in a particular way in order for them to reach the population that I'm trying to say it to. Like, you have to say it with passion. You got to say it so people will actually feel what you're saying in their soul, not just hear what you're saying and think about it. An example of an individual who has mastered his delivery, but yet really didn't master any of the others that I'm going to tell you, would be Too Short. Too Short seen a lot of success, wouldn't you agree? This guy's flow was never on point. He never really rapped on beat to perfection throughout his entire career, to the point that people just determined it and chopped it up as a style. See, what Too Short did was he rapped in a way that people could just feel it. Like, you can tell that he was from the streets. You can feel that what he was saying, that he actually lived it, because most likely he did. Like, take for example the Freaky Tales song, which is one of my favorites of all time, where he's like, these are the tales, the freaky tales. These are the tales that I tell so well. His flow isn't really on point all the way throughout this song, but yet what he's saying and how he's saying it struck a chord into a whole generation, to the point that I'm telling you about it right now. The second fundamental that you have to master would be your flow. And this is saying what you're trying to say, what you wrote, directly to the music without dropping it off the beat. When you become good with the flow, you end up adding more to the beat than what lyrics usually do, just off of just the feel. An example of the people that did this well would be Bone Thugs-n-Harmony. Most people out here cannot tell you any of the bars that Bone Thugs-n-Harmony have said. They can really just tell you the hooks of "I'll see you at the crossroads," but yet these songs have been getting played for a very long time since the 90s. Why is it that these individuals are remembered through time for their songs? Not only because they were hot, but also the delivery and the flow that they added on top of the beat was actually amazing. It added so much more than what that production was offering to begin with that it made them into classics. Now, how do you master your flow? First of all, you have to write your lyrics with flow in mind. Whenever you write something, you should always have in mind exactly how you want to say it. And when you do it like that, you'll begin to get creative. Like, okay, I should be rapping this fast, so I need to write this in this particular manner in order for it to flow properly at the right tempo on top of this beat. And then it comes down to practice again. You practice this and practice this and practice this, and then you memorize it, and then you spit it so that your flow and delivery come through at the same time so you can make great music like Bone Thugs used to do. Last but not least, and your most difficult hurdle to jump over would be the actual lyrics. See, a lot of people think that they be spitting lyrics, but they don't be. Like, they don't understand the tools that you have in order to create and compose the most complex lyrics that you can possibly. The tools within lyrics would be punchlines, metaphors, and wordplay. What is wordplay? Wordplay is when you literally are taking your words and playing with them. Here's a great example from one of my favorite rappers for a while. His name King Los, if you know him. Los, don't give him too much for nothing, but nothing's too much. These dudes out here is doing too much of nothing. Notice how he's saying the same thing, but multiple times, and each time it means something different. Don't give him too much for nothing. What he's saying there is, don't give away all your lyricism for free. Like, you're too good to do that. But then Los comes back in the conversation, but nothing's too much. The same words, but in a different context. He's pretty much saying now, nothing that I would give these people would be way too much. The reason being, as he concludes his thought, the rest of these dudes out here are doing too much of nothing. He's pretty much saying his competition is doing nothing at all. So why should I dumb down what I'm doing? Like, it's genius when you begin to break it down and analyze it, that he's playing with his words and giving you a complete thought. This is the level in which you need to reach. What are metaphors? Metaphors are when you use something that has nothing to do with what you're talking about in order to explain what you're talking about, because everything is connected in one way or another. I do a video on this channel called The Hip Hop Stocks. Here I compare the actual stock market as you see it to hip hop music. Now, what does the stock market have to do with actual hip hop music? Nothing. Until I begin to break it down to you and show you the comparison. Finally, punchlines. In which punchlines, you should know what a punchline is. Pretty much at the end of your bars, you say something that's somewhat comical that people will relate to, that people will point out like, oh, that was fire. That's pretty much a punchline. Overall, as I said, homie, you have a lot of work to go before you're even ready to make one good song, let alone have a full project hit. So here's what I say you should do. You should get back to the drawing board. This is what I did in order to learn all of this stuff, in order to become a better rapper, is I wrote 300 songs a year for about 10 years. I got the notebooks to prove it. You have to practice, practice, practice. But yet, don't just randomly practice. You have to practice with these particular concepts that I just gave you in mind in order to gather your skills. Like, now that you have the tools, now that you know what I'm talking about, you can move up in the game faster. But yet, you have to put in the work. If you don't put in the work, if you don't put in the practice, if you don't memorize your lyrics, if you don't practice and perfect your flow, then there's no point to this at all. But good luck to you, homie. I want to see some progress from you in about a year.